that we are going to start our recording for today's session. So we will be recording this and posting it to our Meet an Expert playlist on our YouTube channel so that anyone can watch and listen in the future. That post will go up on our blog and on social media so you can share the link with anybody. Our recording today is also just of our speakers, so we shouldn't be recording any girls' faces, just as a heads up. Before I introduce and turn things over to our experts, I just want to take care of, like I said, a few housekeeping items. So everyone will remain on mute for the duration of today's session. We have a lot of people joining us, so I think that'll make things as smooth as possible. However, we do have our chat box available, so please, any technical questions or anything like that, you can enter that into the chat box. It's closed right now, but messages will come directly to me. We will open up the chat box a little bit later when we're ready to take some questions live from all the Girl Scouts on our call today. And yeah, I think that's all our housekeeping items. So I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Amy Artzer. I'm our Community Partnerships Manager, and I am the lucky person who gets to co-host all of our Meet an Expert sessions. And I'm really excited for today's in particular. So let's go ahead and kick things off with the Girl Scout promise and law. So if you can follow along with me from home. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. Now we have the Girl Scout law. I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. All right, well done, everybody. So we have an amazing panel of experts, of women in government joining us today. So we have Denver City Council President Stacie Gilmore, Presiding Denver County Court Judge Theresa Spahn, Deputy Chief of Staff at the Office of the Mayor, Erin Brown, and Deputy Police Chief Barb Archer. So I'll let each of our experts introduce themselves a little bit about what they do, what their job means. And then we have an awesome tour of the mayor's office, the mayor of Denver's office. And then we'll answer some questions that you all submitted in advance. And then we'll have time even to take some questions live. So I will turn things over to our experts. Please take it away.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Amy. And I'm Stacie Gilmore, and I'm the president of Denver City Council, and I represent District 11 in the city. And so it's the Montbello Community, Green Valley Ranch, and then I have all of Denver International Airport in my council district. And I am definitely a proud Brownie and a proud Girl Scout. I used to love getting my badges and having that goal and working towards it. And so just really honored to be here with all of you today. And so, you know, what do I do as a city councilwoman, as the president of Denver City Council? And so the city council's job is we're the legislative branch of city government. And so we're tasked with making laws. And so we approve contracts, but then we also write and approve laws that help people in our city be safe, get access to resources if they need it, and just really help people and businesses be successful in our city. And in July of this year, I was honored to be voted unanimously by my colleagues to be the president of City Council. And, you know, we haven't had a woman president of city council for almost a decade in Denver. And so it's a huge honor. I have a president pro tem, which is like our vice president of city council, and her name is Jamie Torres. And we are both Latina women. And it's the first time that we've also had a president and President Pro Tem leading together, and especially during a time like this in our history with a pandemic, and we have a worldwide civil rights movement and all of the things that are going on. But really my day-to-day is a lot of Zoom meetings, just like this, talking with residents in my neighborhood. People maybe have lost their jobs and they need access to food. They need help with housing. They might just be having a rough day or a rough year and they want somebody to talk to. And so that's where my council office and my council aides come in so that we can help support people right where they're at. And so really being a good listener is important as a city council person, as president of city council, because when you're in a leadership role, people right away bring their problems to you. And I love solving problems and figuring out, figuring out new and innovative ways to deal with issues and not doing the same old, because sometimes that doesn't always work. And so really being a good leader means that you're a listener, that you're observing what's going on, and that you're trying to bring people together. It takes a lot of energy to fight and to not get along. And so I love where we can compromise and come together and really serve the citizens of Denver and your families the best that we can. And so excited to be here with you today. And I'll throw it over to Judge Spahn, because she is part of the judicial branch of our government. And so you really have the legislative branch with me as city council, Judge Spahn as the judicial branch, and then we have Erin Brown, who's a representative of the mayor, which is the executive branch of government. So you've really got everybody here from the Denver city government, and then honored to also have Deputy Police Chief Archer here with us as well. And so Judge Spahn.
Great, thank you. That is a perfect setup, I think, for your badge that you're earning today, about your democracy. So yes, we have 3 branches of government, and we are the 3rd branch of government. We are your court system in Denver. So we're Denver County Court. And the first thing I start off by saying is I'm the presiding judge of Denver County Court, and we have 18 judges. 13 of those judges are women. And so if you think about the whole state of Colorado, if you go, you think about maybe you go up in the mountains to Vail or to Grand Junction, you go down south to Alamosa, you might have heard of or been to or spent time with, or you go up to Fort Collins, or you go to Eastern Colorado, maybe Lamar. The whole state has, a number of different court systems, 22 court systems. So we're the Denver court system for Denver County Court. And we are the biggest court system in the state of Colorado. We're so big that we're in 3 courthouses. We're in 3 different buildings. And we also do 100,000 cases a year, over 100,000 cases a year. And we have 18 judges who decide all those different cases. And as I mentioned earlier, 13 of those 18 judges are women. And we're very, very proud of that. So we're the most diverse court in the whole state of Colorado, not only racially and ethnically, but that we have the most women. So we're really proud of that. That's something that I think really serves us well in Denver, having that diverse bench. And you might think, well, what is a case? What kind of cases, go through the Denver court system? So the best thing I can describe is we have civil cases. So civil cases are like maybe somebody thinks that somebody else owes them money, or maybe they want to change their name, or maybe they need to get what we call a protection order to be safe. So those are one type of case. And then we have traffic cases where people are driving and maybe get a speeding ticket or something like that. And then we have what we call criminal cases, and that's where if you are charged with committing a crime, like the legislative branch passes all the laws, you have rights. If you're charged with violating that crime, you come into the court system. So you have a right. You're presumed innocent, and you go before a judge and maybe a jury, and they decide whether or not you're guilty or not. And I think the great thing that Councilwoman Gilmore, Stacie set up is that, she talked about how important it is to help people and problem solve, and our court does that also. So if somebody is found guilty, we try to help them and problem solve. And we think about, like, maybe do they just need some counseling or some help? Maybe would their lives be better if they had some housing? Maybe they have a drug problem or an alcohol problem, and we're able to help them with that. instead of jail. So we have all kinds of very special courts. We have courts that help homeless people. We have courts that help people that have mental health issues. We have courts that help people with substance abuse. And so we try to take a really special look at everybody that comes to our court, because every single person matters that comes through our court. And as the presiding judge, I'm kind of the head judge of the whole court system. So we have 250 employees. So we're in 3 courthouses. We have all different case types. And so I really kind of help just run the courts. That's really my job. And I always like to say that I'm proud that I'm born and raised in Denver. So I grew up right here in Denver. So that's a little bit about our court and a little bit about me. Thank you. And I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman Gilmore and Judge Spahn. That was great. You guys will be tough acts to follow, but Councilwoman Gilmore, thank you so much thank you for that. I'm Erin Brown. I serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff for Mayor Michael Hancock. And so Mayor Hancock is the mayor of Denver. And, you know, my job as Deputy Chief of Staff, actually, I get to, in a lot of ways, work really closely with both the branches of government. And so when you think about a city, it's large. And when you think about the number of employees that it really takes to run a city, there's many. And so we have 28 city agencies. We have about.
I'm gonna interrupt you just for one moment because you're sounding a little broken up. So I don't know, maybe if would our other co-hosts or co-experts today mind turning off your video until you're presenting again? Sometimes when we have so many videos going, it can make things a little glitchy. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure we can hear all your wonderful words.
Yeah, no problem.
That seems to be, even that's better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I know lots of virtual meetings all over our area, so you never know the bandwidth, but thank you for that. So I'll just do just a little bit of repeating, and I'll just start and say that the city is large, and it is our responsibility to help ensure that the city operates. And so yeah,
I'm going to pause you again. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to try to stop videos and see if we can get a little bit better. One moment, and I'll even stop my own video here. Maybe that will help. Okay, why don't we give it another shot? Apologies for
Okay, sure. Does that sound better?
That does for the moment. I'll interrupt you again if it goes wonky.
Okay, so I'll try to be quick so we can allow time for Deputy Chief Archer as well. But just wanted to share a large city, 28 city agencies, about 12,000 employees, and we have close to 1 million residents. And so I work very closely with the mayor and the senior leadership team. That senior leadership team is made up of another deputy chief of staff, as well as a chief of staff and the mayor. And so we all work together to ensure our city runs smoothly and safely. And so what you'll hear me talk about and what I will say is that I feel like my job is really centered around operations. And so that means that I work with agencies all across our city. And when I say agencies, I'm speaking of the agencies that make our city run and to make our city fruitful, engaging, places people want to visit. So we work with everyone from Denver Parks and Recreation to a department that we call Public Works that works on transportation and infrastructure, to our city libraries, with the police department and the fire department, and many, many more. But that gives you an idea when I say we work with agencies to ensure that our city runs smoothly and that we meet the diverse needs of our residents, everywhere from how we ensure that children are healthy and growing well, how we support families how we ensure that Denver has a strong economy and great jobs, and a place where people want to come. How do we take care of our city? Ensuring that our streets are paved and our sidewalks are paved and that they're safe, and traffic. I mean, it's a lot when you think about what it means to operate a city, but we don't do it alone. And so each agency has what we call an executive director, or, which is really kind of the main boss of that agency or the leader. And we work with them directly to ensure that we are serving the city well. And that's a little bit about what I do. It's a great job. You get to learn a lot about your city. You get to meet a lot of wonderful people, and you get to interact with a lot of the wonderful women that you see on this call this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. That was much better, I think, once I turned my video off.
And so I'll hand it over to Deputy Police Chief Barb Archer. You're on mute.
There we go. So everybody, I'm Barb Archer. I'm the Deputy Chief of Police. So I'm the second in charge. Chief Paul Payson is the chief of the police department. And I've been with the police department for 30 years, and we're the biggest police department in the state. We have over 1,500 police officers, and that's men and women. And 227 of those 1,565 are women, which is really cool. And in the 30 years I've been here, I've seen policewomen work every assignment out there. We have policewomen who are canine officers. We have policewomen who ride motorcycles. We have policewomen who've been in our mounted patrol. And we're detectives, we're sergeants. The sergeant who's in charge of the mayor's security is a female, Sergeant Hill. So we're all sorts of opportunities. And right before I took this job, I was the commander of the Major Crimes Division, where we investigated homicides and robberies. So lots of neat opportunities out there for police women in this career field. One of the best parts about being a police officer is we like to help people. Similar to Girl Scouts, we also believe in solving problems in our community and being positive role models and working with our community to keep everybody safe, resolve situations, provide resources. We do a lot of community outreach. And that's unfortunately been affected by our COVID problems, but it's a great place to work, and I look forward to talking to you a little bit further and answering your questions as they come up. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to our 4 experts and panelists. Before we turn it over to some questions, we are going to take a virtual tour of the mayor's of Denver's office. And our tour guide, or our host for our virtual tour, is Gloria Neal, who is Director of Public Affairs for the Office of the Mayor, the Honorable Michael B. Hancock. So we will, give me a moment while I get our video ready. All right. Here.
We are now going into the mayor's office here in the City and County Building. Oh, and look, there is Mayor Hancock. Hey there. How you doing?
Everybody?
How are you?
Okay.
I'm good. So, I had told you about this a while back. We are going to be, as we socially distance, we are going to be showing this video for the Girl Scout dinner. And this is really all about the importance of young girls becoming advocates and active in politics and government.
Hi, Girl Scouts.
And understanding that. So first things first, why do you think it's important for girls and women to be involved in government?
Well, because one, women, girls bring a perspective to leadership and to policy questions that are very important for us. You tend to have a very strong, powerful element of values around empathy, around understanding and seeing policy from different angles. And it's important that you all are there and that you're at the table and, quite frankly, leading.
Absolutely. The importance of getting involved in local politics and becoming those advocates starts very early. The Girl Scouts now have released their new badge program, And so one of the badges is an advocacy badge.
All right.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
No, it is. It's very, very good. What you reading?
You know what? I'm actually writing in a journal right now just to, recap what happened today in a lot of my meetings. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'll buy that book. Absolutely. So now let me ask you, share your thoughts on the importance of women being involved at all levels for the Girl Scouts. And remember, these girls are from age 10 all the way up to 18, especially with everything that's happening today in society.
Well, you know what? If we ever prefer fundamental change and change that is quite frankly connected to the people, women typically bring that perspective more powerfully than men. And so if you look from every angle of this city government, from the judicial sector in terms of women who are judges on the bench, we find a more powerful, people-connected bench. When it comes to the executive branch, throughout the entire executive branch, I have appointed a lot of women who lead a lot of our agencies, and quite frankly, they run really well because the women are managing them. And then of course on the legislative branch, if you look at our city council, you see a lot of women who have been elected to city council, and they do a phenomenal job in really analyzing policy, again from a perspective that I think is critically important to make sure that policy is reaching all people and bringing equity and equality.
Now, I know that there are some gee whiz facts about this Oval Office.
Yeah.
Can you share some of those with us?
Absolutely. So this building where we sit, City Hall, was completed in the early 1930s. This office where we sit is the mayor's office. It has always been the mayor's office, and it is shaped in the form of an oval, similar to the Oval Office where the president sits and does his and transacts his business every day. This office, however, is just a little bit bigger than the president's office. Though it was built to replicate the Oval Office, it's a little bigger than the Oval Office, and it's just as comfortable as the Oval Office.
Now, is there anything else you want to point out about the significance of this office? Because I understand there's a lot of history.
Absolutely. I want you, if you can see that line up there, that line points to our mile-high marker, so 5,280 feet in the air, 1 mile high. And actually, if you take that line all the way across Civic Center Park, it will line up with the 1 mile marker that's on the state capitol stairs. Pretty powerful.
Wow.
I sit at a desk that Federico Pena, Denver's first Hispanic mayor, used when he was in his office. And so I'm proud to use it. I was his intern.
So this desk has significance.
This desk has significance. This whole office has significance. And lastly, that window right there that is just to my right, it allows for every mayor to gaze out of City Hall, across Civic Center Park, into the state capitol as we contemplate difficult decisions. Every picture I've seen historically of mayors looking out the window, that's the window they're gazing out of.
Wow. Well, we thank you so much, Mayor, for your time today. This was outstanding.
Absolutely.
And the words of encouragement for these young ladies. I'm sure you are glad that there's another generation that's looking to take up the mantle.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you very much for being a Girl Scout, number one. And remember the values you learn. And more importantly, don't ever say no to yourself before someone else does.
All right, I'll start my video up again. That was pretty cool if you ask me. So, all right, was everyone, I just want to confirm, I got some things in the chat box. Was everyone able to see our video from today? I hope so. I hope that wasn't just a few minutes of a blank screen. Okay, good, wonderful. I see some yeses. Awesome. Thank you for that confirmation. Okay, so now we get to have our experts answer some of the awesome questions that you all submitted. So we'll go through some of the questions that were submitted in advance, and then we'll open up our chat box to take some questions live. So this question was actually submitted a few times, so I think we're going to start with it. And that would be, what is the most fun part of our job? And I would love if maybe all of our panelists could answer that question.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead, Erin, go ahead.
So I thought maybe we'd go in picture order, but what I think is one of the most fun things about our job is that we get to help people every day. I think that's one of the things that makes it great. We have a chance to make the difference in the lives of people that live in our city. So that's probably my favorite part. And I guess that's my favorite part. I think the other thing that is really fun is that you get to learn about multiple ideas and issues that affect our city, both good and bad. So you're always learning.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in there. You know, Erin kind of took my answer, but it's a great answer or I'll take Erin's answer, that, you know, helping people is really the best part, because there's a lot of people that need help, and they don't really know where to go. And so they go to an elected official because they figure that we have all the answers, which is not true. We have some answers, but we need the help of community members and families, and especially young people just like you. We need to know your ideas, and we need to hear you know, what you would like our society to look like going forward. And so just really helping people, but hearing ideas. And then the other amazing part of my job and what makes it fun is solving problems. So right now, you know, we're having a really tough time with the pandemic, but there's also people who are struggling with healthcare. And so really looking at how we were doing, you know, how systems were set up and how the government was set up previous to March of this year, when we started down this road of the pandemic, and the challenge every single day to look at how we can rebuild different systems to help ensure that people who are vulnerable and people who have been maybe excluded from getting the same rights as everybody, especially Black folks, Indigenous people, people who otherwise wouldn't have a voice, reframing what we're doing to serve those folks, and create equity and create a system where everybody gets the same treatment, especially around healthcare and access to opportunity. So it's really inspiring, especially serving in this role at this point.
I'll go next. I think one of the funnest parts of my job is talking to girls like you, and especially when you come to tour one of our police stations, walking you through the police station, letting you see where everybody works, where we do our roll call, letting you sit in a police car and see some of the police equipment that we have. That's something that I really, really enjoy.
Takes me a second sometimes to unmute and catch up. So that was a great question. Kind of what's the fun part of your job? And I was thinking about that, and I thought kind of what everybody else has said is that, you know, today I handled court for one of our judges, Judge Rudolph, because he had surgery, and it's really fun. It makes me feel good when people leave court and they're happy, like they feel like something good happened in court today. Or sometimes people come to court and they're not happy. Maybe they have to stay in jail or go to jail, or maybe they're not happy about a fine. But what makes me feel good about my job too is if they leave and they felt like they were treated, we had good manners and we treated them with respect. We gave them time to talk to us and we gave them time to ask questions. So that's also a really good part of being a judge. And then I have to say that just kind of some funny things, sometimes like silly things happen in court. And we never laugh at people, but sometimes we laugh with people, because I myself have said some of the silliest things accidentally in court, or have done some of the silliest things. And I always welcome the whole courtroom to laugh, because it kind of breaks things up. One time I was walking into court and I have my robe on, and we go on these really high chairs, and we have this big bench in front of us. And my clerk was saying, "All rise, Judge Spahn, court is in session." And I hit the step and I fell down in front of everybody. There was about 20 people in the courtroom, and files went everywhere, and I was on the ground, and everybody was afraid to laugh. And so I crawled back up and I looked over the bench and I started laughing so hard, and everybody started laughing in the courtroom, and it kind of just really made for a good start. So there's a lot of times too where we just can really have fun and not take everything so seriously.
Those are some awesome answers. Thank you, everybody. So like I said, I'm going to work our way through some of the questions that were submitted in advance. And this is, I mean, not everybody has to answer, but if you have a good story to tell us, please do. But one of the Girl Scouts asked, can you talk to us about a time when you faced a challenge and how did you overcome that? And that could be in your current role or, you know, in your education, anything that you feel like you want to share with us about a time when you faced a challenge and how you overcame it.
That's a really good question. And I'm sorry, I know no one has chimed in. I think we deal with so many on the regular basis, just in the nature of the work that we do every day. Really trying to figure out if there's one specific example. But I think one things I can share that's probably pretty global that happens in the work in the mayor's office every day is that we are faced with a lot of really difficult decisions. And often we're in rooms where there's varied opinions about a path forward or a solution. And so I think one of the things that I have learned in being a leader is that one, you always respect that. And two, recognize that you may not always agree. But I think the important thing is that you try to find some common ground and recognize those things that you can agree on, and then really find a way to work through those things that are still really sticking points. And it doesn't always end up perfectly, but I think what matters is that both sides were heard. And I don't know, this might sound a little bit like what Judge Spahn deals with each day, but I think those are what makes our jobs great, because you deal with these really difficult situations, and you can't always walk away with a solution, but you were involved with moving forward. And sometimes you can walk away with a solution that is beneficial to both sides when you're able to meet in the middle. And it allows for a lot of innovation to really move forward. And so I'm sorry I don't have one specific example to share, but that's just one thing that I think really happens on the regular basis in this kind of a leadership role.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in. That is a really hard question. And Amy, when you first asked it, the thing that popped right into my head was when I was 20 years old, and I grew up out in Brush, Colorado, so in a little tiny like farming town, and was going to school up here in Denver to get my degree. When I was 20 years old, my dad had a really bad car accident, and it was a rollover car accident, and he was paralyzed. And so my dad it's called an incomplete quadriplegic. And so all four of his limbs are affected. And so he can't really walk by himself. He can't get around by himself. He's in a wheelchair. It's a motorized wheelchair. And so, you know, when I was 20 years old and I was going to college, and I just remember getting that phone call like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and my mom telling me, your dad has been in this car accident. We don't know if he's going to survive. And just sitting up the rest of the night, just thinking about, my God, what is happening? And I got up the next morning, I got ready for school. I went through my school day, and I just compartmentalized it. Like I set it on a shelf because I had some things that I had to take care of, and I set it on that shelf and went through my day. And when I came home, you know, I kind of broke down and I got scared, and I called my mom and I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And you know, it was a whole long process. But what that experience taught me was that we can pretty much overcome anything. We just need to give ourselves the time and the space to sort of process it and to reach out to people when we need that help, and not try to carry that all on your own. Like I could have put it up on that shelf and just forgot about it or not told have told anybody, not share that with anybody. And then I'm carrying that burden and that fear and that challenge all by myself. And I'm glad that I was able to reach out to others and have their support and help. And, you know, my dad's still with us, but I just remember that a really scary time, and that I thought I was going to have to drop out of college because we didn't have the money with him not working. And I remember telling my mom, well, I'm going to drop out of school and I'm going to get a full-time job. And her telling me, no, you stay in school, we'll figure it out. And so it took me 5 years to graduate from Metro with my undergraduate, because I worked almost full time all the way going through college. And it kind of made me reset what I valued and what my life plan was. And if it takes you a little bit longer to accomplish your life plan because you've had to overcome some challenges, you know what? That makes you a cooler person. That makes you a stronger person, being able to get through that. And so that's a little bit about overcoming a challenge.
I'll jump in. I have to say, I just think such great advice from Stacie and from Erin, because before I was a judge, I've done a lot of different things in my career as a lawyer. And there's been a lot of times that have been so hard and so challenging. And I think exactly what they said is that if I gave some simple advice is that somehow I will tell you every problem that I've went home and cried about, or I've worried about, or I've went home and shared with my family that I think I'm never going to get through this. I'm never going to be able to fix this. It always works out. It always has. And it always, like, something happens the next day or the day after, a week later, and it works out. I promise you that. And I think the best advice too is to, no matter how tough it is that keep talking respectfully, you know, to whoever you're trying to work out something with. That's so important. Like, never give up on just respectfully taking another run at it and trying to fix something. Sometimes I'd wish I'd listened to my own advice, that it always takes care of itself.
All right. I loved all of that. I love listening into these sessions. I feel so lucky to get to participate along with all the awesome Girl Scouts out there. So I'm going to kind of combo some of the questions that came in, but there were quite a few questions about what it's like for you to be a woman in your role, and what advice you would have for girls who are interested in working in government or public service in some way. But if you can speak to what it's like and what challenges you face being a woman in your role, and what advice you would give girls.
I'll jump in there. I just think I've been a lawyer for 30 years. That's a long, long time. And like I said, I've done a lot of different things. I've worked in the district attorney's office, and before I was a judge or judicial officer in Adams County a long time ago, like in 1994, believe it or not, and for about 7 years. And what I would say is that then I was only the second woman ever in history of Adams County Court to serve on the bench. Can you imagine that? And like our courts have been around since 1966. And now I'm here serving in Denver, and I just have to say it just keeps getting better. And we need more women to because I've seen it change a lot, but still got some work to do. So we need the help from all of you.
I'll go ahead and speak too. One of the biggest challenges is your personal belief that you think you can't do it when you actually can. So I overcame that by always working as hard as I could. I studied hard through the academy. When I got out of the academy, I continued to read and learn and find classes to take so that I could get as good as I could at my job. And so always giving it your best effort. And then it's speaking up if you feel that you're not being treated equally. I think that's really important as well. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and jump in there. I think always remember that you have a right to be there. A lot of times, for certain reasons, people will try to create a scenario where maybe you don't know as much or you don't have as much experience or for a variety of reasons. And just never forget that you have a right to take up space. And even if your voice shakes, if you're scared, if your hands are sweaty, you have a right to say what you want to say and take that space up and don't give it up and be persistent.
And I don't know if my perspective will be much different than what the women have already shared with you. I think it is absolutely important that always believe in yourself, know that you deserve to be where you are, no matter what your role and position is. And to that, I do think, and I think probably the women on the panel will agree with me. In some ways, women, even today, with all these women have accomplished, there will always be people that will question your worth. There will be people that question why you are at the table. And so it is imperative, I think, that as women and as girls and as you're growing, is that always be engaged, learn everything you can learn, be able to carry conversations no matter what the topic, and be the best that you can be in whatever field or area you're interested in. And so that allows you to have all the skills you need to walk into any room and sit at any table.
Awesome. So this is another question for everyone to answer. Can you tell us all how you got to be in your current role today? So whether you have to be elected or appointed, or you're offered the job, and if there's any sort of like licensing or a test you have to pass or anything that is definitely required in your current position. There were a lot of questions that came in about how do you become a judge, how do you become deputy police chief. So if each of you could give us a little bit of information about that, that would be awesome.
Sure, I'll be happy to start with that one. And so I'm appointed by the mayor. So I wasn't elected for my position. I think what is important, I think this would be something that as girls and as women, as you grow into young women and enter your careers, people watch what you do. Actions matter, right? And so I think in a lot of ways, that's how you move into these types of roles, about the work you currently lead in any job that you have, and how you engage with others, and how you care about your work, and how you follow through, and that you're committed, and that you're engaged. So I think those are just always remember that. But to really talk about my path here, had no idea that I would ever be working in city government. I had a background in nonprofit management, which I never knew I would do either. I was a communications major in college with the emphasis in communication disorders. I thought I wanted to be a speech language pathologist. On my way to get my master's degree and realized I hated it and didn't want to do it. That wasn't the right career path for me. And what I discovered about myself really early on, I had opportunity in the summers. I worked at a YMCA, and I really felt that one of my talents and one of the things I loved was to work with people, and really enjoyed being in the community where I can see the work that I did make a difference in someone's life. And so I think that's what really started my path into growing into this kind of a role. And I just continued to work in our community in lots of different various roles. And the opportunity, I met the mayor along the way. We were both up and coming professionals, and I was a director at a YMCA, and he was at the Urban League. And we continued to partner and work together, and we worked together at the Urban League. And when he made a decision to run for mayor, he had seen the work that I had did and asked me to join his team initially to run the recreation department for the city. And so I did that. And from that work, he asked me to run the Office of Children's Affairs for the city. And I did that for a stint. And then he asked me to come over and be the deputy chief of staff for the mayor's office, which is the role I'm currently in. And just to share with you, just last year in September of 2019, we actually launched an office called Social Equity and Innovation. And I'm playing a bit of a dual role and also the first Chief Equity Officer for the City and County of Denver. And so I say that, and that's why I started with people pay attention to what you do and how you work and how you treat them and how you follow through. And I think that's what makes makes a strong leader. It's not always just what you learn in school and what you get in the books. It's how you put it into practice.
I'm happy to jump in and give it a go here. So to be a judge, obviously you have to go to law school. So you have to have a law degree. And to go to law school, you have to go to college first. So you have to get into college. And I think when I was probably your age right now, I would have never guessed in a million years that I was going to be a lawyer. So I didn't even know that was possible, but I did know that I wanted to go to college. And so when I went to college, I waited tables. I was a food server. So actually a food server from about the time I was 15 through college. And then after college, I waited tables still. And then I started law school. And then you go out and you practice law. So sometimes you're in private practice where you handle cases for people who come and hire you, or sometimes you're at the DA's office, the district attorney's office, or the public defender's office in public sector work. So there's all kinds of different jobs you can do as a lawyer. But after you get years of experience, you can apply to be a judge. And I think what Erin said is so important is that when you apply to be a judge, the questions you get asked is, how were you as a person? Did you treat people fairly? Did you give back to the community? Were you respectful of other people? They look at all the years that you've worked when you applied to be a judge. And that's really important, who you were as a person when you were working professionally. And to be a judge, you get appointed either by the governor. So that would be Governor Polis. He's appointing people right now. Or in Denver, you get appointed by our mayor. So in Colorado, that's how you become a judge. And we have one of the best systems in the nation. We have merit selection. And that's just a big fancy word for you get appointed. There's you on your merit. And that means like, were you a good lawyer? Were you good to the community? Were you fair? Are you a person that should be in this really important role? And then once you're appointed as a judge, through another group, there's a group of citizens who pick 3 people and they give them to the mayor, or they pick 3 people and they give it to the governor. So they try to take all the politics out because we're the third branch of government. We're not supposed to be political. And then the mayor appoints. And then after that, all judges in our state stand for retention. So I'm on the ballot this year. And we have another statewide commission and city and local commissions that evaluate us to say, were you doing your work on time? Were you treating people in your courtroom with respect? They take a look at all the work that you do. They send out evaluations to the lawyers and to the citizens who come in your courtroom. And then they fill those out. And so we're accountable to the voters. For me, every 4 years. If you're district court judges, every 6 years. And so we are on the ballot to make sure that we can't run for office. We can't be political in any way, but it's just a check to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as serving our community.
I'll go ahead and jump in now. I was appointed to be the deputy chief by the chief of police, Paul Payson, when he was appointed chief by the mayor. Then Chief Payson asked me to be the deputy chief. And again, I'm going to follow up on what Erin and what Judge Spahn just said. It was all about how people watch what you do throughout your whole time working, and that helps provide opportunities for you. I became interested in being a police officer when a school resource officer talked to me in my class and when I was in 8th grade. And that made me really curious about wanting to be a police officer. And I took steps to finally get there. I took another job in the city before I decided to take the jump and go to the police academy. And I did 6 months in the police academy, graduated. And then you work in different assignments. And in each of those assignments, you get the opportunity to establish yourself as a hard worker, a reputable person, someone with good values and ethics. And Chief Payson and I had worked together several times over the years. And he felt confident in my abilities, and I'm honored and humbled to have this opportunity. So it really means a lot how you perform every day, because everybody is watching. They really are.
Well, ditto to a lot of what my colleagues mentioned. I'm sure that there's quite a few of your parents that would think that someone for an elected political position should have to take a test before they run for elected office, but that is not how our system is set up. And so it's really to open it up to anybody who wants to run for elected position. And so my background, I'm actually a wildlife biologist. And so I went to Metro State and I was studying zoology and chemistry because I thought I wanted to be a medical doctor. And then I had a chance opportunity one summer before I graduated to have a really cool summer job to teach kids how to fish. And so that summer I taught kids how to fish. And like Erin said, you might go to college to study something, but then find out that, I didn't want to be in a hospital for 18-hour shifts day in and day out. I really wanted to be outdoors. And so I started a career teaching kids about the outdoors, connecting their families to the outdoors to learn about hiking, camping, and fishing, but then connecting them to careers. So, if you really love ladybugs, you could actually go to college to become an entomologist or a bug specialist, and you could, study bugs for your living. And so it was really cool to educate and talk to kids and their families about really pursuing a science-related career. And through doing that work, I saw a lot of kids and families struggling. It was one thing that they, are trying to get to school and perform, but if they didn't know where they were going to be living the next week, or if they didn't have enough food, or they didn't have winter coats, that really hurts your performance and it really holds you back. And so that's really the reason I ran for elected office, is I wanted to make changes through laws or through programs to help fund those, to really help people in life and to take away some of those barriers.
Awesome, thank you. So we are almost out of time. So I hope that we answered some of the questions that were submitted and some of the questions in advance and some of the questions that were submitted through our chat box. I hope you all learned as much as I did today. So we're going to close things out with having each of our experts tell us what their favorite Girl Scout cookie is. And if you could let us know if you ever were a Girl Scout at any point in time.
I was a brownie. I didn't make it to Girl Scout level. I think sports got in the way for me, and that's where my focus was. My absolute favorite Girl Scout cookie is Thin Mints, and I like to freeze them and then have a big glass of milk.
Well, I'll pop in there, Erin. You can tell we've been friends for a lot of years. And so Erin and I live in the same community and we've worked together quite a bit. But my favorite are Thin Mints, frozen as well. Just being able to be here with you today and share a little bit of time with you has just it was a highlight of my week last week, and it's definitely the highlight of my week this time as well. So thank you.
I'll jump in. I was a campfire girl, so it's kind of the same but different. And my favorite cookie is the Do-si-do. I love peanut butter. So thank you all for your questions. It's really been fun to be a part of this today.
And I will say I was a brownie and a Girl Scout, and I did go door to door selling cookies, and Thin Mints are definitely frozen. I agree, Erin, frozen. And I think last week Stacie and I also said we have to eat a sleeve at a time. That's how we eat the Thin Mints. So thank you all for participating and welcoming us. We've so enjoyed it. It's been just so much fun for us. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you all. Thank you to our amazing 4 panelists for joining us. Thank you to all the Girl Scouts out there for tuning in either today live or watching this in the future. I so appreciate all of you taking the time today. I know I learned a lot and I hope you did as well. I see a lot of messages in the chat boxes. Thanks for doing this. This was wonderful. We had a great time. So it's great to see all of that. And keep a lookout. You can also get you can get a Girl Scouts of Colorado Meet an Expert patch on our website if you'd like to. So again, thank you all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.